So recently I was in a conversation about divinity, and there is often, with reason, there's often a bit of a clash between religions. It's always been that way. And in trying to bridge that gap and try and make everyone understand that we're really just getting hung up on words, in the end, we all belong to the same religion. We all generally believe the same thing. Because, for cultural reasons, due to language differences, things are given different names that are really the same thing in translation, if that makes any sense. So a lot of times, to help me understand the situation, to understand what's being said, and really analyze it correctly, I find that it's easier sometimes to substitute the words for other things. Now, if this sounds crazy, or if it sounds kind of strange, I'm confident you've already done it. You just didn't identify it that way. So here's my example. When you're in grade school and you're learning vocabulary, when you're given a word to define that you don't know what it is, what do you often do? You ask, can I hear it in a sentence? A lot of times, if we can hear the way it's used, we can understand what the word is. And so using this method, when you're talking about gods and goddesses and things like that, natural selection, substitute the words. Give them to something else and just focus on how it's being defined. Focus on how it's being used. And this is assuming they're being used correctly in the first place. Many people end up using the wrong words. And so word choice is extremely important. Anyone who's a writer already knows this. The word that you choose makes all the difference. And if you're not conscious of this, you really should be in choosing your words. And if you need a minute, don't be afraid to ask for it. If someone puts you on the spot and you're at a loss for it, ask and say, I'm at a loss for words. I know what I mean to say. I'm just unable to find the correct word. Don't feel pressure to just say something and throw it out, because chances are they're going to throw it back at you, or it's going to be used against you. So be mindful of that, and don't be afraid to ask for time. It's actually very healthy. I think everyone should ask for time, because the more time you are given to think about things, the better your chances of coming up with a wise decision, and not an irrational, impulsive one. I'm not saying that impulsive decisions have no place. Those are commonly referred to as instincts, as emotions. They have their place. Just knowing where that place is important. So when you are talking about religion, non-religion, it is all the same. Try to rid yourself of certain words to understand what's really going on. In my personal belief, you may agree or disagree, but in my belief, there is one power. It is what I call the divine. It has no gender because it is pure energy. And when you are pure energy, you have no use for material things. You have no use for gender, because gender is only for procreation. Other than that, there is no reason to be male or female. Correct. We can all agree. So the divine, pure energy in the universe that manifests itself into things. So we are all a part of it. And so you can say, without using biblical terms, you can say that you are created in its image, because we all possess that energy. And isn't that its image? So it's really not a male-female, it's not a racial thing. It's beyond that. Because those are material things. Those are in the flesh. They're not significant to an entity like that. So, I call it divine. Christians call it God. Darwinians will call it Mother Nature. It's your choice. But don't get hung up on words. Don't get hung up on those. Because that's where you'll get into a fight with someone and not realize that you're really arguing with someone who believes in the same thing. They have just, due to cultural differences, I've given it another name. For example, there are those who follow Jesus. There are those who follow the Buddha. In my opinion, both are representative. They are the mouthpiece of the divine, of the one. So for people who worship different gods, I'm okay with that, because they are still answering to the one power. They are still answering to the divine. And so it is still valid. Whichever one you want to choose, your choice, so long as you are still following what the divine has taught, is what it's teaching. It is the same. Some religions like to apply different things, others do not apply, and those are cultural. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, for example, certain religions do not allow the consumption of pork. That is a cultural thing. People were getting sick because, we all know that there are pathogens. So it's a cultural thing. For that culture, it was necessary to put that rule in place and say, you know what? Too many of us are becoming ill. It's something we don't understand, so it is forbidden. In Wicca, you have the same thing with plants, with good reason. Some of them are very toxic. Others are beneficial for health reasons, so you will not use them to burn in your fireplace. It's silly. It has a medicinal use, so why just burn it? So these are cultural differences, and so they apply and they are necessary in that instance. So it doesn't make them wrong because your religion doesn't have that. It's okay, because I'm sure your religion has its own little niche. Understandable. And so being very open-minded and accepting of these things will make you a more peaceful individual with not only others, but with yourself. You will find less conflict in your life. It is true. Because the more you cling to the nitty-gritty, to those fine little details, like, I'm not going to make an umbrella statement. I'm not going to say all Christians are this way. They are not. A good, I'm using the word good, not to be hung up on words good and bad, or evil, whatever. But a good Christian, I do not have a problem with. They are just following their belief peacefully. Of course, there are those, like those who participated in the Crusades, and then, to take it off with Christians, clearly Al-Qaeda is not a good representation of their religion. And so there are those who make the others look bad. That's what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to be delicate. Again, not to be hung up on words, trying not to use certain names. I'm not going to play the name game and start blaming people and pointing fingers. It is the reality, and that's all I'm trying to portray. Is in reality, there are those who misrepresent. And unfortunately, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. They seem to be the ones that everything, the media gravitates to, and they make the others who are doing the right thing look bad and lumps them all in under that one stereotype. So I am not trying to stereotype. I'm just trying to help you understand the differences between native peoples, between those in organized religions, non-religious people, and to understand that deep down we all believe in the divine. We all believe there is this magical thing. Even people, ooh, goodness, there must be an accident. That was a hard stop. I'm impressed he was able to pull that maneuver. Or she, can't tell from behind. 2 cars up. So, what an awful interruption. Okay, yes. So even those who you would think, well, someone who is extremely scientific would not believe in the divine. Not true. If they don't, they haven't really considered quantum physics. A lot of strange things happen. You have particles that appear and disappear and reappear again in another place without traveling the distance. And so you could easily say that is the, and I'm using quote unquote, the divine, because that is the word I use. That is the divine, that is the natural energy of the universe working its quote unquote magic. And when I say magic, again, that's a loaded word. It has many different meanings, and I'm trying to do my best to do my quote so you understand that I'm not meaning it universally and however you choose to define it. I'm only meaning it in the way I'm defining it. And so, on that note, when we're talking about magic, a lot of people misunderstand what it is. They misunderstand the word spell or potion. Potion, hey, you're an herbalist. Nothing crazy about that. It's very ancient. And in the modern world, we are starting to bring it back because it has resonance, and I believe it is the way. All synthetics are derived from the natural. So you know what? We don't make things from scratch. We take from nature and we alter them. So in reality, it is, our modern day system is holistics that is askew. So it does have potency. Don't belittle it. Also, Christian, for example, how would you define a prayer? What are you saying? You are asking God to bless your family. You are thanking Him. To awaken, what does that sound like? It's a protection spell where you offer yourself to the divine, you thank it generously for what it gives you, and you ask for its protection. Many, if not all religions, do that. Again, I'm trying not to make a blanket statement, but from what I have studied and noticed, that seems to be the case. So do not get hung up on words, okay? Do your best to try to define the word as if you didn't know what it was, and define it by the means it is used. And again, assuming it is used correctly. However, that is how you should approach it, and you will find peace.